Our last honoree for the evening is a woman who has contributed so significantly to Enders Island and beyond. We were sad when we learned that Gaetana Enders' passing back in May of this year. Gaetana had been a friend to Enders Island for many years. She was the niece of Thomas and Alice Enders, and as you know tonight, we celebrate the 60th anniversary of their generous gift of the island to the church. We have a short video tonight to honor Gaetana.
Raised in Morocco, Gaetana Enders became well-versed in international and cultural affairs from an early age. The daughter of Italian parents, her father was a judge in the Italian court in Tangier. Her mother was active in aiding the poor and instilled this sense of duty in her daughter. Humanitarian efforts would become a lasting theme in Mrs. Enders' life. Married to Thomas Enders, a career diplomat, Gaetana and their 4 children traveled throughout the world. In the early 1970s, when Thomas Enders was stationed in Cambodia as the United States Deputy Chief of Mission, Gaetana's work with refugees took root. Exposed to the atrocities of the Civil War, she established an NGO to aid those Cambodians devastated by the Khmer Rouge regime. Gaetana Enders' tireless work on behalf of 27,000 refugees led to her appointment by President Ford as the only woman to his advisory panel, where she advocated for the placement and resettlement of Vietnamese, Laotian, and Cambodian refugees. She continued this work in Canada, where the Enders moved upon her husband's appointment as ambassador in 1976. During the next several years, she worked with the Canadian House of Commons to bring about a change in immigration laws to allow for the settlement of refugees in greater numbers. As fiercely dedicated as she was to humanitarian efforts, Mrs. Enders was also a committed patron of the arts. During the years her husband served as ambassador, she opened the embassies to the public, sponsoring exhibitions, introducing American art and culture to the children and adults of Canada, Belgium, and Spain. After Ambassador Enders retired from foreign service, he and Gaetana left Spain, and in 1986 she embarked on a career in journalism, becoming the international editor for Hola and Hello magazines. Celebrated by many prestigious institutions for her charitable work with educational, medical, and cultural organizations, as well as her advocacy for the visual arts, Mrs. Enders was a true Renaissance woman.
Once again, I invite the Reverend Stephen Hornat, Superior Generals for the Society of St. Edmund, to introduce Thomas Enders, who will be accepting the medal on behalf of his mom.
Gaetana Enders answered her unique call to the life of virtue and grace as a daughter, an ambassador's wife, journalist, philanthropist, mother, grandmother, and friend to all she met. There are so many delightful words to describe Gaetana: gracious, cordial, warm and welcoming. She possessed a quiet confidence behind a charming smile. Unwavering in her convictions, Gaetana inspired us with her advocacy on behalf of the voiceless. Throughout her life, Gaetana used her energy and abilities to improve the lives of others and to be a beacon of hope. Born in Tangier, Morocco, the youngest of 4 daughters, Gaetana was familiar with the commitments, the challenges, the protocol of diplomatic life since she was a small child. Her father was General Counsel of the Supreme Court of Italy and Administrator for the Judicial Affairs for the International Zone of Tangier. She met her husband Thomas in 1953 in Tangier, married in 1955, and together had 4 children. As the wife of a career diplomat and ambassador, Gaetana used her influence to bring peace and comfort to those who had little voice in global affairs, but whose lives depended on it. A visionary like St. Edmund, who used his powerful voice for good, Gaetana worked alongside her husband to facilitate humanitarian and cultural relations in various international posts, including Sweden, Yugoslavia, Cambodia, the European Community, Canada, and Spain. In Cambodia during the war in 1970 to 1974, Gaetana established refugee camps and subsequently served on President Gerald Ford's panel supervising the settlement of Indochina refugees. She will be greatly missed by her family, her many friends around the world, and by all who found in her their voice and their dignity. Therefore, in the tradition of St. Edmund, Archbishop of Canterbury, Gaetana Enders is recognized as an ordinary woman who lived an extraordinary life, a woman of virtue, truth, and grace. It is therefore with the distinct honor and high privilege of the Board of Trustees of St. Edmund's Retreat to bestow upon Gaetana Enders the St. Edmund's Medal of Honor for service to the church and community, signed by Timothy Duffy, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, and Thomas F.X. Hoare, SSE, President of Enders Island.
Thank you so much. You know, I feel that my mother is really with us tonight. She was a big traveler, and so she had to take the biggest trip of all earlier this year. And we, in our family, miss her, and her friends miss her terribly. And I do think that she would feel very special about being here, because this evening has so many of the elements that would mean so much to her. Distinguished clerics and people of faith and committed Catholics, and fine young people, and a wonderful tenor from Italy. My mother was a very proud Italian American, and that heritage was extremely important to her, and she felt strongly. I'm the great nephew of Dr. Thomas. And my mother felt that she had a lot of kinship with Alice Van Gilder Enders, in part because they were both sort of outsiders. My father, like Thomas Burnham, was a Yale graduate, patrician sort of person, and had gone to Morocco in his senior year at Yale to study Moroccan nationalism, but really was just to explore and have adventure, and met my mother in Tangier. And my mother really enjoyed recounting the story, probably apocryphal, about how Thomas Burnham met Alice Van Gilder, which he was in New York and was, he studied a lot. He was working a lot as a doctor, and one of his friends said, "You've got to come out in the evening." So he took him to a Radio City Music Hall show. And as the story goes, he saw Alice Van Gilder on the stage, and said, "I need to meet her," went backstage and proposed to her on the spot. So my mother always felt a special tenderness towards that, because love was really very important to her. Her whole life was centered around love, and through that, personally, and through faith, that is how she lived her life. And she really felt and over the years deepened how she could express that love in a way that was very personal. In the video, the thing I wanted to point out, my parents were Foreign Service officers, and one of the posts that they served, and the post that most changed us, they served in many posts, but the post that most changed them, most changed our family, was service in Cambodia during the war. And service in wartime, I remember it as a child, it's extraordinary, it's chaos, it's a melee, it's a terrible terrible experience to live through. And in particular, the displacement of people is extraordinary. My mother reacted very personally to this, and she organized a whole series of efforts to support widows and orphans from the war in Cambodia, from the Khmer Rouge, and from the war in Cambodia. And I wanted to just say a little bit about this because this was so important to her. In addition to a lot of organization, my mother had a tremendous energy and a life energy. In addition to a big organizational effort, she really directly touched the lives of individuals. And her commitment to personally intervene directly is really what marks her, I think, in the spirit of St. Edmund. And as I was thinking about this evening in St. Edmund is eyes to the blind, feet to the lame, father of the poor, and friend to strangers in trouble. Now, some years ago, maybe 12 or so years ago, my mother went back to Cambodia because she had gotten in touch with old friends that had survived the Khmer Rouge, old Cambodian friends, and she wanted to see them and wanted to see our house and see there again. And in that course of that visit, she decided she had already placed several refugees and adopted them as godsons, and she decided to do that again. And I'm going to read you an account from one of those, Sopa Hul, who's now 23, and who I've become close to. And I asked him to give me a few words about his experience. He said, Sopa, Tom, I am very delighted to say that Mummy, that's our mother, is wonderful mother in my heart. Since I've been regarded as her Cambodian godson, my life has changed a lot till now. For about 12 years ago, my family was very poor. We didn't have enough food to eat or clothes to wear. I could not even attend my elementary school or study English. I remember that we started having contact through Don Bosco Children Fund in Phnom Penh as Mommy first met Brother Roberto at Raffles Hotel Le Royale. She told me that she was very happy to see Brother Roberto as an Italian guy in Cambodia. Italian connection. And then she told him to find a very poor boy to support everything for him. That boy is me, who she always gave a true love, pity, and support everything till now. She's not only a wonderful mother, but also a good teacher for me. You know that when she first came to visit me at Raffles Hotel, I didn't speak English, but the translator told me she wanted me to study hard, especially English, because it would be easy to converse with me when she came. When she visited my family directly, she promised my parents that she would love me forever and wanted to support me till I have my own family. However, she often advised me to be honest, gratitude to everyone, and become a strong man in Cambodia. One more thing she always told me, she really loved Cambodia, especially Khmer culture. She advised me to love it and conserve it from my heart, because it is very important to my country. In all of these, what I've learned from her. And I too have learned this from her, to live life with love and with courage, and to intervene, to assist those who need it. And I think this honor is so meaningful, and would be so meaningful for her to be here with you and to be in the company of the honorees and to all of the wonderful guests this evening. Thank you.